What up, Bucs fans, NFL fans, and gambling fans? Welcome to Pewter Picks and Props, the NFL Week 2 and Bucs Week 2 edition of the show. I am your host, Matt Matera from PewterReport.com, and Pewter Picks and Props is brought to you by Splash Sports. Join over 2.5 million people playing on Splash Sports, the home for Survivor, Pick'em, and QuickPicks. Whether you want to create your own contest with friends or take a shot at life-changing prize pools, Splash Sports has you covered. Download the Splash Sports app today or use the QR code on the screen and get to your quick picks and all your different prize pools. I am super pumped to talk about Bucs versus Texans Monday Night Football. But first, let's review how I did in week 1 and take a look at my track record for the NFL and the Bucs specifically. We'll continue to monitor this throughout the whole season, but we only have 1 week to go off of right now. Last week was pretty good. As you can see on the board, I was 2-0 with the Bucs. I took them to cover the spread against the Atlanta Falcons. I also said the under was going to hit, so bang, a 2-0 to begin the season. When it came to picking Bucs player props, not a bad start at 3-1. My overall prop bets for the game with some Falcons players, not as fantastic. So go 3-3 on the overall prop bets. And picking around the NFL, this includes my Bucs picks. Went 4-3, so a winning record, but I want to extend that lead this week with the Bucs and, of course, the NFL games on Sunday. So you can check out the NFL games. I got a Pewter parlay. And, of course, a lot of this attention will be about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's get right into it for Bucs versus Texans. Monday Night Football. I'm picking the Bucs once again. They are an underdog in this matchup at +2.5. And this is an interesting one when it really comes down to it, because you have a Bucs team that is undefeated. That's right, undefeated in the first 2 weeks of the season since Todd Bowles has been the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won last week, so the streak is still alive. But at the same time, the Bucs cannot win in primetime. They went winless last season. Another stat in the favor of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the fact that they have not lost a week 2 game since 2016. The team was not that good back in 2017, 2018. They certainly rerouted the ship, if you will, and have played much better. But to not lose in week 2 since 2016, something's got to give in this game. I think it's going to be a battle in the trenches, which is why I like the under of 42.5. You got to think Tristan Wirfs may not be back yet. Luke Gedeke dealing with a foot injury. The Texans had to reshape their entire offensive line as well. Their rookie right tackle is going to struggle going against Hassan Reddick, and Vita Vea is going to have a hell of a time going up against the Texans' backup center. So I love the fact that Hassan Reddick might have another sack in this game. Yaya Diaby probably fit for a good outing as well. It's going to be which offense can come out of the mud between these two. I think the Bucs have a better chance of keeping alive the streak of being undefeated in the first 2 weeks with Todd Bowles as the head coach versus their streak of losing primetime games. There's a lot to figure out for the Houston Texans, and they're not going to figure it out on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Bucs +2.5. If you want to get a little spicy, take them money line, but I'll take the points at +2.5 because I do believe it will be a close game. And under 42.5. We're going to get an explosion from the Bucs offense at one point this season, but week 2 will not be it. With that said, it's a team game. The Bucs showed complimentary football last week with special teams as well. So Bucs win the game. I'm taking the points, though, +2.5, just to be a little bit safe. And the under of 42.5. If you want to bet just the game, those are your picks to take in Bucs versus Texans. Moving along to Bucs player props, I got a handful of them, starting with quarterback Baker Mayfield over 20.5 completions. Baker's going to be firing the ball because the Bucs running game is not going to get going for the second week in a row. Again, I feel good about the Bucs running game from week 2 on. But the Texans, you got to give them credit for what they do on defense. We spoke to offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard, who said it's important to get Baker Mayfield early completions. Doesn't matter how big or how small. And they looked for the big shots last game, but against the stingy Texans defense, they're going to go underneath. They're going to go play action, short passes, and screen passes. You want the screens to go big. You want them to go for 45 yards and a touchdown. But even if they lose yards, that's still a completion. So I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield completing over 20.5 completions. I'm also a big fan of Emeka Egbuka over 55.5 receiving yards. He was a sensation in his NFL debut, catching 2 touchdowns, scoring the game winner, and being a really important part of the offense. The most receiving yards out of anyone in that week 1 game. And if you're the Bucs, if you watch that last game from the Texans and the Rams, yeah, the Rams didn't score a lot of points, but they had one guy that was doing everything for them, and that was Puka Nacua. They were moving him around the offense, putting him near the line of scrimmage, even behind the line of scrimmage, getting him the football in the slot. There is one matchup that is top-notch for the Bucs in this game, and that's Emeka Egbuka in the slot going up against Jalen Petrie of the Houston Texans. He's great stopping the run, but struggles a little bit defending the pass. The Bucs have to take advantage of this with Emeka Egbuka, and I believe they will. So I'm a big fan of Emeka Egbuka over 55.5 receiving yards. I believe he will be the staple of Tampa Bay's offense for another week. For the Texans side of things, I try to keep it very Bucs heavy, but Texans, I have under 72.5 receiving yards for Nico Collins. The Texans don't know what to do without Tank Dell, who suffered a serious injury last season and still is not available. They're getting along their Iowa State wide receivers as well. But Nico Collins is not the deep threat that Tank Dell is. They want to get him involved, but they couldn't hit him on the deep shots. Also, shout out to the Bucs defense. The only thing that gave them an issue last week was a couple of penalties, but also Bijan Robinson out in space. They did not allow many passes down the field. They're going to want to do the same exact thing when it comes to stopping Nico Collins and the Texans offense. I think they're going to pressure CJ Stroud a ton, which means getting rid of the football early on. So under on the receiving yards of Nico Collins. I'm also taking the under for 68.5 receiving yards for Mike Evans. This is a big game for Mike. He's from Galveston, Texas. I think Houston isn't that far. He's going to have a lot of friends and family at the game. But we got to remember, defenses, all they do is focus on Mike Evans. That's what allowed Emeka Egbuka's touchdown in the game winner, his second touchdown. That was all because the defense was focused on Mike Evans. He's going to have a tough matchup against Derek Stingley. We'll see how much Mike moves around, and he'll be important into the offense. A huge game is coming for Mike, but I don't see it in week 2. So as much as we love Mike, he could get around 55 yards, maybe even 60 yards. I just don't see him going over 68.5 based on all of the attention that he brings and the fact that teams are going to want to make sure that Emeka Egbuka can still prove it, and it wasn't just a one-hit wonder in his big game. So as much as we all love Mike, as much as we all want him to get 1,000 yards, and I believe he will, this is not the game where he's going to have the most explosive of showings. I'm banking on a bounce-back game for Chase McLaughlin. I think points will be at a premium. That's why I took the under. I think Chase McLaughlin is going to have a chip on his shoulder, or I guess a chip on his leg, based on what happened when he missed a field goal and an extra point. Bucs will drive the ball a little bit. It's going to be difficult, so field goals will be very important in this game. I have Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals. And last for my pewter props in the Bucs-Texans game, Bucky Irving, the sensational running back for Tampa Bay, had a receiving touchdown last week. Well, I don't think he's going to be sensational on the ground. He's got a nose for the end zone. When the Bucs are at the goal line, it's going to be Bucky getting the football, and he could have another receiving touchdown as well. So bank on it that Bucky Irving is going to reach the end zone one way or another. My pewter parlay of the Bucs-Texans game, plus 525 if you want to take it. It's Baker Mayfield over 17.5 rushing yards. I think with the Texans' ability to only rush 4 and keep everybody else in coverage, it's going to give opportunities for Baker to say, screw it. No one's open. Let me go and run the football. So Baker over 17.5 rushing yards. I love that one. Bucky Irving under 63.5 rushing yards. Bucs are going to have a makeshift offensive line once again, whether Luke Gedeke is in or out, whether Tristan Wirfs is in or out. So not loving the Bucs ground game early on. And the last one, but certainly not least, to create this plus 525 payout is Emeka Egbuka over 4.5 catches. If you believe Emeka Egbuka is going to get the ball a ton, which I do, hammer an individual one. I don't even have it on my player props. I just have it for the parlay, but hammer Emeka Egbuka over 4.5 catches and include it in that parlay of plus 525. By the way, on Splash Sports, I have 4 quick picks. Make sure you download the app at Splash Sports. My 4 quick picks, I've kind of already mentioned them. Baker Mayfield, the completions, Emeka Egbuka on the catches, Nico Collins under on his receiving yards, and Chase McLaughlin over 1.5 field goals. Turn $20 into $1,000 with the best multipliers in daily fantasy sports over at Splash Sports. Use the QR code, download the app, and start winning a lot of money over at Splash Sports. Let's round out the show with a couple of picks around the NFL. We'll start with Rams -5 at the Titans. I just think the Titans are a really bad team. Eagles -1 at the Chiefs. Not going to be as much of a blowout as it was in the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs have no wide receivers and a little bit of a shaky secondary. I think Jalen Hurts gets this one done with his arm more than his legs like he did in the opener. Patriots +1.5 at the Dolphins. Miami is just absolutely abysmal, and the Patriots are better than what they showed in the opener. Saints 49ers over 43.5. This was before the Brock Purdy news, but no turning back now. Kyle Shanahan has gotten a lot out of quarterbacks. The Saints showed more fight than I believed that they were going to do in their game last week. So let's look for the over in that one. And Jags-Bengals, I have the under of 50 just because the Jags showed that they can run the football. That takes a lot more time off the clock. And under 50 is a very, very high number. So those are my NFL picks around the league. My pewter parlay, +178, not a gigantic payout, but I'm going all money line in this one. Cowboys over the Giants, 49ers over the Saints, and Rams over the Titans. Just take a money line, set it and forget it, and just see the money go into your bank account. Those are my picks this week for Pewter Picks and Props. Remember, the Bucs are on Monday night, so you have a little more time to get those bets in, but don't forget about those NFL picks as well. If you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us at Pewter Report on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well. We're very close to 21,000 subscribers, and we'd love to get there by the end of the weekend. You could also follow me at Matty4_Matera. All right, that's it for this show. Thank you to everybody that is watching, placing those bets, and most importantly, let's win some money. Out.